Hey, I'm Don from Math Eternal, and today I'll be showing you how to beat problems using the Pythagorean Theorem. The Pythagorean Theorem is one of the most widely used tools in mathematics, created by Pythagoras over 2,000 years ago. Fundamentally, it is used to find the missing side of a right-angled triangle by using the other known two sides. Now, the Pythagoras formula is a squared plus b squared equals to c squared, where c is the longest side of the right-angled triangle, also known as the hypotenuse. The way the Pythagorean theorem can be simply proved is to draw a square on each side of the right-angled triangle. Now calculate the areas of each square. This is easily done by multiplying the side length of the square by itself. For example, if you want to calculate the area of a square with a side 4 centimeters, all you have to do is 4 times 4, or 4 squared, which will be 16 centimeters squared. Now, try this for triangles of many different shapes and sizes, of course all right angled, after watching this video. Now, let's jump in straight into the questions. Alright, so level 1 here is to find C with a right angled triangle of sides 4 and 3 with a hypotenuse of 5. So let's write down the Pythagorean theorem. A squared plus b squared equals to c squared. And let's write down what a and b are. So a would be 3 or 4, so a and b are interchangeable, but c has to be always the longest side. So we have a equals 3, b equals to 4, and c is just c as shown in the diagram. Now let's substitute the values. So 3 squared plus 4 squared equals to c squared. And then c squared will be 3 squared is 9, 4 squared is 16. That adds up to 25. And then root both sides, that's the final step. So root c squared equals to root 25. And then c will just be 5. And then since they don't give the units here, like centimeters or meters, we just write 5 units. And there you go, that's the answer for level 1. Now let's move on to level 2. Level 2 is find x, where this time they give you the hypotenuse as 9, with this other sides of the triangle of x and 5. So the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals to c squared. A is x, b is 5, and then c equals to 9. Now let's substitute the values in. X squared plus 5 squared equals to 9 squared. X squared equals to 9 squared minus 5 squared, just rearrange the equation to make x the subject. And then x squared will be 9 squared is 81, 5 squared is 25. And then here, 81 minus 25, let's see, that is 56. And now square root both sides as the last step. X equals to root 56. And since you can't simplify that, that's pretty much the answer. So 56 units. Alright, now for level 3. So level 3 is find y, where this time they give you two sides as y, and then the hypotenuse as 6. So I forgot to put the right angle symbol here, just to symbolize that this triangle has to be right angled. So here we have a squared plus b squared equals to c squared. So a will be y, and b is also y as well. And then c is 6. Now let's substitute the values as always. Y squared plus y squared equals to 6 squared. Then 2y squared equals to 6 squared, which is 36. And now let's divide both sides by 2. So if you divide 2y squared by 2, that's just going to be y squared. And then 36 divided by 2 is of course 18. And then let's root both sides. That's going to be root 18. And here, if you know how to simplify surds, this is going to be root 9 times 2, and that's going to be 3 root 2. So that's it, that's the answer. So 3 root 2 units. As you see here, I left the answers from level 1, 2, and 3 as exact values, but depending on the question, they might ask you to actually calculate the surd. So they might ask you to round it to 2 decimal places or 2 significant figures. So depending on the question, slightly change your answer, but For this one, I'll actually calculate the surd. So if you just put in your calculator 3 root 2, the answer is going to be 4.24 units, 2 decimal places. So there you go, that was level 3. Now it's your turn for the challenge question. So the challenge question is solve for A then B. So as you see here, there's 2 big triangles. So there's A in the middle there, and then there's B over here. So first step is I recommend finding A first, then that way after you know A, you can try to calculate B. So just before you pause the video, feel free to go back to any parts of the video, just to make sure that you're 100% confident with solving questions using the Pythagorean Theorem. Alright, so the countdown starts now. Here are the solutions. So A squared plus B squared equals to C squared. So the first one, so we have A as A, and then B as 5 and C is 13. And so we now do A squared plus 5 squared equals to 13 squared. And then A squared will be equal to 13 squared minus 5 squared. Rearranging the equation, A squared equals to 13 squared, which is 169, and 5 squared, which is 25. And then A squared will be 169 minus 25, and that's 144. And of course, you should know that 144, if you root that, it becomes 12. And so A is 12 units. And so that's the first part of the question there. So I'll scroll back up. And now we need to find B. So let's write down the Pythagorean theorem for this triangle. So A squared plus B squared equals to C squared. And then A, now we know, so A was 12. And we have B as just B. And then C as 15. Now let's substitute the values. 12 squared plus B squared equals to 15 squared. B squared equals to 15 squared minus 12 squared. B squared equals to 225 minus 144. Then B squared, so 225 minus 144 is 81. And then root 81 should be 9. So 9 units. So there you go. A is equal to 12. And then B is equal to 9. That was it. You just gained the special ability, the Pythagorean Theorem. Congratulations. But hold on, before you go, you may think that the Pythagorean Theorem may be a bit useless in the future, but trust me, this is one mathematical concept that is useful in every real physical application in our world. So for example, there's physics, there's architecture, there's navigation, there's computer science, sport, even visual arts, and you name it. Trigonometry can be useful in one way or another. That was how to beat the Pythagorean Theorem. Thanks for liking and sub, and see you in the next stage.